Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you, everyone. Just for the record, in case the internet, in case I go off on this account, then please wait for a few moments and I will just log into the other, okay? We will begin 3 rounds of Ankara. Settling down. Watching your breath. Soft body and soft face. Inhaling deeply for Om. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Ganana Antva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrinvannotibhissidha Sadanam Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Dhīnāma Vitryavatu Ano Divo Brihataf Parvatada Saraswati Yajatagantu Yajñam Havan Devi Jujushana Ghritachi Shagman Novacha Mushati Shrunotu Vagdevyai Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Become aware of the breath. Become aware of the inflow and the outflow of the breath. The quality of the breath, the subtlety, the warmth, the dryness or the humidity of your breath. Three rounds of Bastrika, followed by 2 cleansing breaths. Kapalabhati. We'll do 3 rounds, 20, 30, and 40. There is no compulsion for you to complete 20, 30, or 40. If you haven't been practicing for long enough, you may still go back to 5, 10, and 15, or 5 each. Remember to keep your abdomen soft, shoulders soft, face soft as you perform pranayama. The end of your Kapalabhati, 2 cleansing breaths, and just get into Namaskara Mudra so I know that you're done with your practice. Please place your palms down on your lap. Chandra Bheda, Surya Bheda, 5 rounds each, followed by 5 rounds of Nadi Shodhana with your mudra and 5 rounds of Nadi Shodhana without your mudra. Gently watch the change. Become aware of any subtle differences in your breath from before pranayam and after. Notice any change in warmth, the moisture, the quality, the ease and flow, or just the quality of your thoughts, the nature of your thoughts, the feel of your body. Preparing for deepening of your mantra sadhana, we'll ask ourselves a few questions. Who am I? Who am I? What do I want? What is my swadharma? How can I help? How can I serve? What am I grateful for? What am I thankful for? With your next inhale, gather all these questions and answers and allow them to lift up and above you on the exhale. The universe can work out the details for you. Now bring to mind your Guru Mantra. If you've been initiated, else Om. Progressively move from mentally repeating your mantra to repeating the mantra on every inhale, gradually on every exhale, Now think the mantra on every inhale and exhale. And continue meditating till we move on to the next phase of mantra sadhana. Now stop thinking your mantra and sit gently and comfortably with your eyes closed. Relax your brow. Relax your eyes. Soften them. "32 names of Ma Durga." Repeat it thrice. Om Durga Durgartishamani Durga Padvinivarini Durga Machedini Durga Sadhini Durga Nashini Durga Todharini Durga Nihantri Durga Mapaha Durga Madnyanada Durga Daitya Lokadavanala Durga Ma Loka Durga Matmaswarupini Durga Marga Prada Durga Mavidya Durga Mashrita Durga Madhyana Sanstana Durga Madhyana Bhasini Durga Moha Durga Maga Durga Martha Swarupini Durga Ma Sura Samhantri Durga Ma Yudhadharini Durga Mangi Durga Mata Durga Mya Durga Meshwari Durga Bhima Durga Bhama Durga Bha Durga Darini Om Durga Durgartishamani Durga Padvinivarini Durga Machedini Durga Sadhini Durga Nashini Durga Todharini Durga Nihantri Durga Mapaha Durga Madnyanada Durga Daitya Lokadavanala Durga Ma Loka Durga Matmaswarupini Durga Marga Prada Durga Mavidya Durga Mashrita Durga Madhyana Sanstana Durga Madhyana Bhasini Durga Moha Durga Maga Durga Martha Swarupini Durga Ma Sura Samhantri Durga Ma Yudhadharini Durga Mangi Durga Mata Durga Mya Durga Meshwari Durga Bhima Durga Bhama Durga Bha Durga Darini Om Durga Durgartishamani Durga Padvinivarini Durga Machedini Durga Sadhini Durga Nashini Durga Todharini Durga Nihantri Durga Mapaha Durga Madnyanada Durga Daitya Lokadavanala Durga Ma Loka Durga Matmaswarupini Durga Marga Prada Durga Mavidya Durga Mashrita Durga Madhyana Sanstana Durga Madhyana Bhasini Durga Moha Durga Maga Durga Martha Swarupini Durga Ma Sura Samhantri Durga Ma Yudhadharini Durga Mangi Durga Mata Durga Mya Durga Meshwari Durga Bhima Durga Bhama Durga Bha Durga Darini Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Saraswati Suktam followed by Durga Suktam. Om Ano Devo Brihatah Parvatada Saraswati Yajata Gantu Yajnam Havan Devi Jujushana Ghritachi Shagman No Vacha Mushati Shrunotu Paviravi Kanya Chitra Yus Saraswati Virapatni Dhiyandhat Gnabhirachhidragum Sharanagum Sajosha Duradharsham Grunate Sharma Yagum Sat Ima Juhwana Yushmadanamobhihi Pratistomagum Saraswati Jushasva Tava Sharman Priyatame Dadhanaha Upastheyama Sharananna Vriksham Yaste Stanashashayo Yoma Yobhuhu yena vishva pushyasi varyani yo ratnadhava suvidyas sudatraha sarasvati tamiha dhatavekaha sarasvatyabhino ne shivasyaha mapaspharif payasat mana adhaka jushasvanas sakhya veshyacha matvat kshetran naranani ganma yagum shushme bhirbisakha ivarujat sanugirinanta vishebhirurmibhihi paravadagnimavase suvraktibhihi sarasvati ma vivase madhitibhihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jatavedase Sunavama Soma Marati Yato Nidahati Vedaha Sanaf Parshadati Durgani Vishwanaveva Sindhunduritatyagnihi Tamagnivarnam tapasa jvalantim vairochanim karma phaleshu dushtaam Durgan Devi Gum Sharanamaham Prapadye Sutarasi Tarase Namaha Agne Tvam Parayanavyo Asmant Swasti Bhirati Durgani Vishwa Pushcha Prithvi Bahulana Urvi Bhavato Kayatanaya Yashanyo Vishwanino Durgaha Jatavedas Sindhunna Navaduritati Parshi Agne Atrivan Manasagranano Osmakam Bodhyavita Tanuna Am Pritanajitagum Sahamana Mugram Agnigum Huvema Paramat Sadhasthaat Sanaf Parshadati Durgani Vishwakshama Devo Atiduritati Agnihi Pratnoshi Kamidyo Adhvareshu Sanat Chahota Navyascha Satsi Svancha Agne Tanuvam Piprayasvasmabhyancha Saubhagamaya Jasva Gobhirjushtamayujo Nishiktantave Endra Vishnoranusancharema Nakasya Prishtamabhisamvasano Vaishnavil Loka Ihamadayantam Om Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durgif Prachodayat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durgif Prachodayat Om Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durgif Prachodayat Om Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durgif Prachodayat Om Katyayanaya Dhimahi Om Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durgif Prachodayat Om Katyayanaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durgif Prachodayat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Become aware of your breath. Become aware of your body. Become aware of the placement of your body, the space around you, the things, the people around you, plants, furniture, space, and the sound of my voice. Gently bring your palms to heart center. Namaskara Mudra. Allow the tips of your thumb to gently rest on the center of your chest. Bow your head slightly towards your fingers. Rub your palms till they are nice and warm. And place them on your eyes and across your face. Looking into your palms as you gently open your eyes. Hari Om Tat Sat. Ma Kālarātryai. Very popular, a very known image. I find her the most attractive. And yet in popular discourse, not so much in India, but India's catching on. In popular discourse, very mistaken. It's very easy to go and label someone who doesn't look very gracious and divine and, as the bad girl. And Kālarātryai, very often, and even in the scriptures, also just known as Kali. Okay, but Kālarātryai is slightly different and she's very different from all the other forms of the Navadurga in the fact that she looks ferocious, because she's the most ferocious form. We're not talking about the violent. We spoke about that yesterday, but here we're talking about the ferocity of how she appears. It's because of what she was, the purpose of how she manifested from Ma Parvati. The purpose. So, I had a thought, so I'll just share. So I had this Ayurveda webinar yesterday for the university where I'm faculty. And this question does come up, do genes play a role in our Prakriti? Do genes play a role in our Prakriti and the body that we have and the health conditions that we have? And it does, okay? We'll speak about that in an Ayurveda class. But the reason it came about here is that the conversation there was, you have the body and the mind that you're given right now to be able to fulfill your swadharma in this lifetime. Your swadharma, as well as all the karmas that you have to express and exhaust in this lifetime. So if you're supposed to swim the English Channel or across the English Channel, then you will be given the body with adequate muscle and, a story or, a set of circumstances and situations which will lead you to it. You most definitely will not be born and stuck on a desert. You may be born in a desert, but then somehow you may find yourself, closer towards the water body to start swimming. But your karmas and your dharma, your swadharma. So here, why I think about that is, if you say, why is she blue in color? Why is she dark in color? Blue. So you see, in this iconography, we are not talking about blue or black, but she was dark. Okay, dark in every sense, because what is dark? Her name is Kālarātryai. Kala. Kal is time. Time and darkness of Ratri. Okay. But the significance is also that she existed even before light came in. So if you think about it, light, what is darkness? Darkness is the absence of light. Light is not the absence of dark. Okay. So darkness is when light doesn't exist. And before the new creation, when we spoke about Kushmanda and the smile, and that she just allows, it's the spark of a smile that created. That spark, before that spark, there was nothing. There was just the soup, or the primordial soup of, the past dissolution of the universes. Kālarātryai is that where it's not a continuum, but she has existed from before. But to understand why she is the way she is, you can't finish Navaratri by not having the Katha, or the story. So I realize that this is not a word that we've used very often, but I want you to be familiar with this word, Katha. In contemporary Hindi, Katha means story. Katha in Sanskrita also means story. Every occasion, every event, every ritual has a story alongside it. Okay? And those stories are Puranic stories. Many times those Puranic stories are influenced by folk stories as well. So you'll find that the same story is narrated or told very differently in different villages even. We're not even talking about, hey, this city and that city. We're talking about villages. We're talking about sometimes tribe to tribe, family to family. It's like your family pickle recipe, or your family, I don't know, apple pie recipe, or whatever it is, right? There is something different, but that's just for the flavor. But the essence, the essence of the stories remain the same. So the Katha. So here the Katha is a very important one to listen to. You see, the Navadurgas, the 9 forms of Durga, were not manifested or created because the Devī had nothing better to do. Okay, so just a minute, I'm just trying to adjust where I see you. Okay. So it's not because she had nothing better to do. The Devī was summoned, was invoked, not summoned, invoked by the Devas, always, okay, by the Devas. Why? The Devas are the celestial beings. So Devas, we call them gods today. We call them gods. But they're divine beings. They are just beings of light. That's it. A Deva is a being of light. A Devata, being of light. So in essence, we are also, because we carry that spark, we're also Devas. But then when you have that being of light, then you have the beings which do not have the resonance with light, and then you have them as the Asuras. Okay, the demons, or the beings that are of the dark, or however you want to say it. It's not necessarily dark forces, okay? But as life goes, the tug of war or the fight is always between that light and darkness, okay? Good and evil, if you have to, right? The Devas and the Asuras. So there's always been that fight. And the Devas, because they were good, but if you actually read the Puranas, all the different Devatas and the Devatas, right, all the other ones, they had their own quirks and, irregularities. Some of them they were full of themselves, and many of them were full of themselves, right? They would just, there was pride in some, there was arrogance in the other. And then, of course, there was humility when they were shown up. But these are what the Katha actually brings out for us, right? A reminder that they are beings of light. They may have a lot of powers, but at the end of the day, they are devas. They are devatas who have their own sense of understanding, which is given to us through human intervention, through human cognizance, right? And through human cognition to tell this story in a way that it would make sense to us, which tells us that if a God can do that, then so can we. Or if a God can do that, then we're also fallible. Okay. So this fight between the devas and the asuras, the devas all resided in this realm of our existence called a Deva Loka. Okay. Deva, those divine beings, Loka, land. Okay. So Deva land of sorts. So Deva Loka. Now, Deva Lokas, in the Deva Loka, all the devas have a lot of their pleasures. Okay, they get a lot of things. I mean, you've got all the perks of being a deva. And if you've got all the perks and the benefits of being a deva, clearly the asuras want those perks. Okay. And so there was always this fight between, the asuras and the devas, where the asuras kept deviously trying to fight them, overcome them, overthrow them, and take over Devaloka. And at one point in time, there were a couple of these, there were these two asuras, Shumba and Nishumba, okay? Throwing mayhem, making, a mess of the whole place. And they had also gotten, certain boons by, so they wanted to take over Devaloka. And all of these asuras are pretty smart guys, huh? They know that when they do their intense tapas, because we're talking about times when tapas was really considered a good thing. There were no shortcuts to tapas, and even the asuras knew that. But they also knew that if they put in the effort, they are bound to get a boon. That is a law of the universe, okay? That your tapas will yield benefits or the opportunity to ask for a boon. So I want you to put this into perspective, because these two guys sat in tapas for 10,000 years. Okay. So I want you to put that into perspective on your roadmap, right? You can put it up on a little post-it or a big chart in your room and say, Shumba and Nishumba, who are asuras, took 10,000 years. How many years have I clocked in? Okay. So that's just to put things into perspective, that an asura can do that. So these two had put in this perspective, their tapas, and they had gotten the boons which said that we will not be killed by any man or any god. We will not be killed. No man or god can kill us. They can't use their astras, shastras, nothing. We cannot be touched. And so they had this arrogance of, we will always win. None of us, none of the devas in Devaloka will be able to, gain victory over us. So we will win. And they were throwing mayhem. They were causing mayhem in the place. And finally, the devas had altogether invoked the Devī, because there is a loophole, right? Yes, no man can kill us. No demon can. But if no man can, then possibly a woman or a goddess can. I mean, that's the only way you can get through the boon, right? And so the Devī was summoned and invoked, and in her form, for all the needs of how these demonic forces needed to be overcome, the different forms of Durga emanated. Now, when Shumba and Nishumba saw that the Devī was there, they were reported. So they sent over, some of their generals, they have these sidekicks, and they said, "Oh, I hear there's a Devī there who's supposed to be very resplendent. Go and see if she's going to come by and, beat us." So in all of these Puranic stories, there's a lot of emphasis on seduction, on lust, on sexual prowess and all of that. And that is not to make it erotica. That is to remind us, that is the most tangible way of us understanding that in our spiritual evolution, in that arc of moving, we move from the most primal and the most basic, that's from your Muladhar and your Swadhisthana. What are they for? They are all for, they're all lower chakras, they're all lower needs. And they are not evolved needs. They are needs of when your Muladhar is not in balance, or your sacral chakra is not in balance, the energies that are below your Manipura are all active enough to focus not on spiritual pursuit, but something that grounds you more, that keeps you attached to the earth. And a lot of sexual imbalances or reproductive imbalances would be very prominent. So Shumba and Nishumba. So that's why you'll find a lot of these asuric, attachments or asuric addictions are based on lust. So the mother, Parvati, Devī, is very, she's resplendent, she's beautiful. And he sends his two generals, and Shumba and Nishumba said, no, not you. Let us send these two guys, Chanda and Munda. Let them go and try to appease her and court her on our behalf. So Chanda and Munda, these two go, and they try to, seek Parvati's hand for Shumba and Nishumba. Now, Chanda and Munda, for those of you who are familiar, Chanda and Munda are two asuras that are based. Chanda is based in our Muladhar. Munda, those of you who are familiar with the practice of tonsuring, shaving the head, that ritual itself is called Mundan. Okay, so Munda is that asura residing higher up in our higher chakras, okay, largely in our Sahasrara chakra. So Chanda and Munda represent the move from your Muladhar to your Sahasrara. Okay. Now, when they came in and they were asking for Ma Parvati's hand, and they said, they were trying to get very violent also at one point in time. And a form of the mother that emanated from her was Chandi. Okay, Chandi who went and, took care of Chanda and Munda. And together, because she took care of Chanda and Munda, Chandi is also known as Chamundi. Okay, Chamundi Devī. And this Chamundi Devī is said to reside in our Sahasrara chakra, which is why when we speak of her or during Navaratri, the ask of sadhakas is to tie your hair up in a knot. So it remains a seat for Ma Chamundi. Okay, so Chamundi, and she destroyed Chanda and Munda, not Chanda. Chanda is moon. And while this happened, Shumba and Nishumba got a bit angry. Okay, they said, well, we've sent some of our really good generals, and this woman can't come for me. I mean, who does she think she is? Wait, let me get someone else. And they end up sending this demon, or this very ferocious asura by the name of Rakta Bija. Familiar? Have you heard of him? Okay. Rakta. Have you heard of the word Rakta? Ayurveda students? Second dhatu after rasa. Rakta is blood. Okay. Rakta is blood. What is bija? Seed. Okay. Now, Rakta Bija had received a very special boon. Telling you, these asuras are so dedicated to their cause, so dedicated. They have gotten boons like no other. So Rakta Bija is called Rakta Bija because his boon was that he will not be killed. And that if ever there was a drop of his blood that was shed, then when that drop of blood touches the earth, another of himself will be formed. Okay? So you can't do anything to him. You drop a piece of blood, one droplet of blood, and there, Rakta Bija version 2, version 2.1, they keep coming up, right? So when Raktabija came on to the battleground, and he was hurt and he was injured in the battle, there were pools of blood everywhere, not droplets of blood, pools of blood. And what happened from these pools of blood? Armies of Raktabija, okay? Armies that threatened to just overcome, because there was one Devī, right? But it is the Devī. She is the creator. I mean, no matter what games the children play, she was there before them, right? So there was this form, this ferocious form. So the form that we spoke about earlier, all of these forms have the mother in a very white or radiant form of compassion and of giving and of clarity and all of these things. She shed that gold, that golden facade, not facade, but the outer layer of herself. And from that emanated Ma Kālarātryai, okay? And she was given the instruction to go and finish off Raktabija, finish off all the other demons, all the other asuras. But what was so special and why Kālarātryai? Because she had the ability to drink the blood of all of these demons. So you say, if you can't allow the drop to fall on the ground, then I will slay you and drink that blood. Okay? So Ma Kālarātryai went on that rampage where she killed every demon, every asura around, and she drank the blood, okay, of them and also of Raktabija, every single drop of Raktabija. So the moment he was slain, right, she drank up all the blood. And then you can see that in her image here, they look like thorns, but actually they are, it's a garland of skulls around her, but she's got a lot of these bones. All of those things around her, they look like little hands, okay, or bones of the hand, whatever. They're not. So you'll find different images and different key points in different images, but she has all of those skulls around her, a necklace of skulls. And she looks quite scary, right? So after Raktabija was annihilated completely and all that blood was, and she had this huge gaping mouth where, demons were just taken in completely. You don't need to cut them through, nothing, no niceties involved, just take them all down. And then finally, when she had also taken down Raktabija, there was this time when, so she's Shakti, right? She's nature. Nature is very fluid. And nature, without consciousness, can go berserk. It can, just because there is no end to who we are. Our bodies can go into a state of Vikriti endlessly unless we tone it down with the steadiness or the stillness of consciousness of Shiva. Okay, so she went into this frenzy, this bloodthirst, and she started consuming, eating, killing, even the innocent beings who are around. Okay, so everything came in. So we know this in reality. We say that nature's fury has no bounds, right? If there is, and I would like to acknowledge those of us over here who have been facing the hurricane recently, and also floods. There are all of these things happening. And when this happens, nature doesn't discriminate between the good guys and the bad guys. They're all people. You're just part of nature, right? So Kālarātryai at this point went into that stage where the bloodlust, that's the word, right, took precedence, and she was even consuming the innocent beings. And that's when the demons actually went and begged the Mahadevas, that is our, not just, we're not just talking about Shiva here, but we're talking about all others as well. They said, what do we do? What do we do? We don't know how to stop her. And, at this rate, with no asuras, okay, but we won't even have any of the devas or devalokas. It's all going crazy. What do we do? So every deva has got their consort. And Kali, or Kālarātryai's husband, okay, or consort, is Shiva. So Shiva said, let me take care of this. All right. And he came into the battlefield. But you see, all of us know from experience that when a woman is, there, you don't tell her, hey, honey, relax. she won't relax, right? So you have to beat her at her own game. So what he did was, he came by and he lay himself down among the corpses, among all the other, the dead and the victims of war. And when she was coming by, she tripped on him, and her foot landed around his neck. Okay. And the moment that happened, she realized that it was her husband. Okay. She realized that it was her husband, and she paused and stopped, and she realized that, oh, this is what I did. This is what, I've gone out of control. And, we sometimes, when you realize that you've made a mistake, you do this. You just bite your tongue, right? So in that state of embarrassment, she bit her tongue, or bit her tongue is not exactly how you read it in the Puranas, but they usually say in embarrassment, her tongue fell out. Okay. And that image is an image that you will see in many forms of Kali, with her foot on Shiva. Shiva's lying down, her tongue sticking out, a blood red tongue. Okay. But she's just fresh out of fury. So she still has a ferocious look on her face. Unfortunately, now this is the Katha. This is the Katha that Shakti unites with Shiva to bring an end to annihilation and struggle and battle. And, it's the calm or the peace after the storm, right? It is the union of Shiva and Shakti. Unfortunately, we will have loads of stories to suit different kinds of agendas today. You'll have things of, oh, you see, feminism was always a thing, and it is always a woman's thing, and see, you'll find all sorts of things, right? But those are not the Puranic translation. That isn't. You can take what you want of it to make a better world, do that, but you don't present that story as that. This is the Puranic version of why Ma Kali, Kālarātryai, has her foot on Shiva. Not because she's angry with him, not because she wants to do something to him, not because she wants to say, I am greater than you are, not to say that a woman is greater than a man. These are polarities, these are binaries which don't exist. These are energies we're talking about here. And remember that at the end of all of this story, the invitation is for you, for each of us, to recognize that Kālarātryai and Shiva are within us. So if I'm talking about it in myself, and I identify as a woman, then I have Shiva and Shakti within me. So which part of me should I suppress for being a feminist? Right? So it isn't that. You cannot superimpose stories to suit a narrative that you want to push in present times. You can be inspired by them, but you can't push them. So this is the Katha, okay, of Ma Kālarātryai. And that's where in this, so Rakta Bija, and you'll find other stories where you have, Mahishasura also. So in this, so who was Mahishasura? Mahishasura was Rakta Bija's father in a previous lifetime. Okay. And as we spoke about the other day, it was the Divine Mother who annihilated him. So you see, during Navaratri, it's not just one storyline. It's not one storyline. It's storylines across lifetimes. It's not even lifetimes, kalas, yugas. It's there are storylines that intersect, and you find that there is a generational story here. Mahishasura and Rakta Bija, like, whoa, where did that happen? It happened. The son carried on the anger of his father. And that's also something that we speak about, that you get opportunities to resolve your karma. Okay, but eventually it is the Divine Mother who still comes through. In tomorrow's Katha, you'll find a completely different story as well, right? So in this move, right, we've had all the asuras that were annihilated. But you know what? I mean, I want to take this moment. I know I've taken a little extra time, but I want to take this moment to also impress upon you the names that these different asuras have been given. I was looking for the list right now, but one of them, right, all these asuras who come before the major asura, right? Before Raktabija came in, before Mahishasura came in, you sent Chanda and you sent Munda and you sent someone like Dhumra Lochana, okay? Dhumra is misty, okay? Alocha or, all of these are also your eyes. So blurred vision. Blurred vision, when your vision is blurred, like my background is blurred, you can't see very clearly. Reality evades you because you cannot see things clearly. And that is an asura. If you cannot see things clearly, how will you reach the truth? So you need to remove that asura of blurred vision, which means that you need to be able to see clearer. That is an asura that we need also to be removed from our lives. So, it's one thing to say, I will focus on listening to all the Deva stories and read the Puranas. No, you need to know who your demons are. You need to be intimately familiar with your asuras. If you're only familiar with the Devas, they'll serve you. Yes, it will serve you for your affirmation, but it'll be like an affirmation. It will be like a band-aid without you disinfecting the wound. It will be like the dirt that you just sweep under the rug. You need to know both. That is the premise of our civilizational way of discourse. You don't just go to teach something because you're an expert on that topic. You should also know with expertise the topic of the opposing side. Otherwise, you're just talking your stuff without listening. You need to understand where they are coming from, to know the strategy, and to be really convinced in what you have to say. You're saying this, I say this because what you say can be negated by this. That is discourse. That is debate. Not the interruption and, pulling out old Instagram stories and saying, see, this is who you are, distracting, digressing. That's not what it is. So Dhumra Lochana, right? And I wanted to bring that in. There are many other asuras, and I should find that list and share it one of these days. Then we have 2 more days left, right? And it's beautiful when we think that, asuras, that is every individual qualities, there were thousands of asuras, tens of thousands of asuras. So each of our negative qualities that we may carry, our negative habits, each of them have been understood by the authors or the narrators of the Puranas to tell us that you're not the only one. Remember, the Divine Mother came and fought these asuras, and all of these are within us. So when we talk about giving up little habits, nothing is a little habit, little negative habits that we want to overcome. Those tiny habits are all tiny asuras. They're tiny asuras because we may find it easier. But before they were tiny asuras, they were big asuras. When you were little, right, our parents seemed very big. Then you grew up and you realize that someday you might be the same height. Then you might grow taller and your parents appear smaller. The appearance doesn't mean that the significance is any lesser. Okay, so it's very, very important for us to recognize that asuras are asuras. We have them within us. We have them around us. But eventually, if we're talking about 9 nights, so think of it as Kālarātryai took the form in 7 days for us to make it crisper, right? So we can't have Navaratri or, like over 1,000 years and say, we have 1,000-year Ratri festival. You don't have something like that. It's condensed to 9 nights. And that is an indicator for you to say, okay, I can do this. I can do this and I can work on these asuras. I can work on all of that. And that is where we are. Another thing that I also very quickly want to add is Shumba and Nishumba, right? Now, these demons, they were not really chakra-based demons, but these are more in terms of the guna-based ones, okay? They were actually fallen angels of sorts. They used to be devatas, but they fell. So they fell because they are also shades of sattva and rajas. The asuras are largely tamasic. So too much of rajas is going to cause an imbalance. There is no such thing as too much of sattva. But sattva is so clear that it can be tainted by rajas and tamas. And when this rajas, which is a higher, lighter element, goes and touches sattva, sattva can also say, oh, but I am very righteous. I am so clean and I am so pure. And that is the fall of sattva. Our Shumba and Nishumba denote that even sattva and rajas can eventually hold you down. So when we say, when I told you the other day that you need to have good habits, but eventually good habits also need to be given up, right? Eventually you'll come to the point of saying, okay, none of this matters. I have to go even beyond sattva and rajas to go and unite with Shiva. If you're hung on to sattva and rajas, you will still be hung on to something. You'll be hanging on to something hung up on, all right? And you won't actually move ahead. Any kind of attachment is going to be your obstacle to that final union with Shiva. Any kind, not just the ones that you can see and touch and the obvious ones, but even an attachment to yoga, an attachment to chanting, an attachment to studying. You need that now, but take that as a shastric teaching from me. When I say this to you, I say this to you just the way my teachers have told me this. Eventually, you will need to let go of all of these. These are just your tools at this point in time. But if you don't let go of them, they will be your crutch. Eventually, so catch yourself when you say, I love yoga, I love asana, I love chanting. You know, I love it so much. A day doesn't go by, my day feels incomplete. That's your indicator that you have an attachment. It's a good one for now, but start by shifting your language. Start by shifting your thought, saying, I practice yoga for the sake of yoga. I chant because I want chitta shuddhi, not because I love it so much. I can't live without it. Yes, true. You're right. You can't. Okay. But you don't need to move towards that. You need to actually move towards liberation. That is your purpose. Okay. All right. I shall close today's session. Okay. I will leave you with this. This katha needed to be told because it is the ultimate. Tomorrow onwards, you don't have this kind of a violent katha. But I leave you with Ma Kālarātryai's blessings. See, apart from the astras and the weapons that she holds in her left hand, devotees of Kālarātryai and Kali get abundance of boons and blessings, both in terms of Abhaya and Varada Mudra. These are the mudras that she carries. A lot of fearlessness and a lot of abundance that comes through from Ma Kālarātryai. So she may look very ferocious, but she's one of the most giving and the kindest of all. A lot of your internal growth, a lot of your growth happens in the darkest of times. Darkest of times is when Ma Kālarātryai is there with us. Okay, so she is there. She is there at all times. Right? All right. I shall leave you with this. Thank you very much for your patience this morning. And I thank Hathaway for not messing around with my internet again. But Hathaway is my internet service provider at this place. Okay, so thank you very much, all of you. I will see you all tomorrow. And I leave you all with a lot of love and a lot of blessings. Thank you to everyone who connected with me to ask me, are we still on? Yes, we were. I was just running around trying to see, how do I connect? How do I connect? But thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.